Hi guys, thank you for joining. Today we will be doing the Mathematics Paper 1, May to June 2022. In this video, we will just go through question 1. The important thing to note is a rounding off to 2 decimal places, unless stated otherwise. Right? Generally the first 2 questions are the easiest, so we will work through them quickly. So 1.1.1, x squared plus 2x minus 15 equals to 0. I approach these questions by looking at the last term, or sometimes the first term. In this case, the last. We need 2 numbers when multiplied by each other will give us minus 15, and when they are added or subtracted will give us plus 2. So we have 5 and 3. That is most likely to work. So x plus minus 5, x plus minus 3. Now we need to determine the signs. I see the middle term is positive 2. Therefore the 5 needs to be the larger value. Just to check that, we multiply it out real quick. We see it does in fact equal to the first equation. Therefore, x is equal to minus 5 and x is equal to positive 3. You can also show this step, which is not necessary, but just in case, for surety. And then we end up with the final solution. Let's move on to 1.1.2. That should be fully calculator work. But there is something I want you to note for this question. And that is understanding the quadratic equation in terms of what we have here. We see that a is equal to 5, b is equal to minus 1, and c is equal to minus 9. Once we have these, it's game over. It's substitution. Right? We know the formula, it's in the formula sheet right there. It's like giving you the solution. That's all over 2a. And now if we substitute in, we end up with minus 1 plus minus the root of minus 1 squared minus 4 AC. Right? And then you can just put that into your calculator, and that's it. Let's move on to 1.1.3. Now we're getting to the interesting bits. Right? So what this question is asking is, where does the quadratic graph or parabolic graph is less than the straight line graph of 3x, right? We can draw these graphs individually and see where x squared is less than 3x. But there is a simpler solution where we just draw one graph and that will give us the solution. So I've taken the 3x to the other side. Now we have x squared minus 3x. If I factor that, left with x minus 3. So the value is x equals to 0 and x equals to 3, right? But this is not the solution, right? That's not the answer. That is a guide when we are plotting this graph. So really quickly, we know two of the points at x equals to 0 and x equals to 3. That is our x-intercept, right? So if we draw that, so the graph is below 0 between x equals to 0 and x equals to 3. And this is how we would write it mathematically. 0 less than equal to x less than equal to 3. Or x is an element of 0 to 3, right? While we are at it, the square brackets include the equal sign and the round brackets it's just the less than sign. Let me show you. If the answer was 0 less than x less than 3, we would write it as x is an element of 0 to 3, the rounded brackets. That is the difference. Let's move on to 1.2. 1.2. A plus 64 all over A equals to 16. And then 1.2.1 wants us to solve. I see this as a quadratic equation, so I am going to multiply everything by A. So A squared plus 64 equals to 16A. I will take the 16A to the other side, plus 64, right? Now I would factorize this. A minus 8 and A minus 8 equals 0, right? Same principle as before. Two values when multiplied equals to 64, and when subtracted or added is equal to 16. So that was 8 and 8. Therefore, A is equal to 8. Now, 2.2.2. Hence, solve for x. 2 to the power x plus 2 to the power 6 minus x equals to 16. So we have 2 to the x plus 2 to the 6 minus x equals to 16. Let's work with this part. You need to know your exponents properly. Right? Notice 2x at the bottom. It's because it actually splits. There you have it. 2 to the x multiplied by 2 to the power minus x. That's what happened. So 2 to the x plus 2 to the to 6 all over 2 to the x equals to 16. So 2 to the x plus 64 all over 2x, so to the power 2x equals to 16. Now we see this is very similar to the equation given, which is that in blue. And here we can make the similarity that a is equal to 2x, right? So a is equal to 2x, and a is equal to 8 as calculated before. So 2 to the x is equal to 8. Now when we exponentiate this 8, we get 2 to the power 3. Therefore x is equal to 3. This is only possible due to the terms being equal. Now let's move on to 1.3. Right. 1.3 is the square root of 2 to the power 1002 plus 2 to the power 1006 all over 17 times 2 to the power 998, right? You must try putting this in your calculator. It won't work. You need to factorize out 2 to the power 1002. Right? These two values can be simplified. So 2 to the power 4, 1 plus 16 all over 17. Right, you put this in your calculator, the answer would be 4. Let's do it manually. 17 over 17, 2 to the power 4, that's in fact 16. Right, 17's cancel, we're left with square root of 16, which is 4. Quite simple. Now let's go on to 1.4. X minus 1 equals to 2. Let's call this equation 1. Then we have 1 all over x minus 3y equals to 1. Let's call this equation 2. Now I will look for the simplest term, which is equation 1, and I see y. So I'll make y the subject of the formula. So y is equal to 2x minus 2. Right? Equation 1. Now I'm going to substitute equation 1 in equation 2. And that will give us 1 over x minus 3, 2x minus 2 equal to 1. Now if I do some gymnastics, we're going to get 6x minus 6x plus 6 equals to 1. 1 all over x minus 6x plus 5 equals to 0. I took the 1 to the other side, it becomes minus 6 minus 1 is 5. Then I want to multiply everything by x, just to standardize the format. Plus 5x equals to 0. But we're still not in the form of the standard quadratic equation. So we have minus 6x squared plus 5x plus 1 equals to 0. Now, just to make things more convenient, let's multiply the entire equation by minus 1. Right? And we end up with 6x squared minus 5x minus 1 equals to 0. Now normally we would look at the last term, minus 1. to factorize, but in this case we would have to do it to the first, and from good judgment I can see 6 and 1 being our terms. So we have 6x plus or minus 1, and we have x plus or minus 1. Now we need to determine which one is it. I think it's going to be minus 1 there and positive 1 there, because when we check our solution, we notice that 6x squared minus 6x plus x minus 1, right? So the larger value has to be negative in order to get the minus 5x, and so this is perfect. That works. So therefore x is equal to minus 1 out of 6 and x is equal to 1. Now we're not done yet. We need to resubstitute this into equation 1 to get our y values. Remember, y equals to 2x minus 2. Y equal to 2x minus 2. Let's sub in the first value, minus 1 over 6 minus 2. Right. That will be a minus 2 over 6 minus 12 all over 6. That will give us minus 14 all over 6, which is 7 all over 3, minus 7 all over 3. Right. Now we need to substitute in x equals to 1. So y equals to 2, sub in the 1 minus 2, and y is equal to 0. Right. Now we need to write this in a good form, which is most likely a coordinate method, in a coordinate form. Right. That's just to show our corresponding values. And that's the solution. 6 marks. And that's it. In the next video we will work with question 2. Okay. Thank you. Bye.